Hey everyone, welcome to today's video where we're diving in the most important part of your AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner exam preparation, mastering how to answer questions quickly and correctly. You've got less than 2 minutes to tackle each question. That's not a lot of time, right? But don't worry, by learning how to break down questions efficiently, spot key phrases and eliminate distractors, you'll improve both speed and accuracy. In this video, I'll guide you through 10 typical exam questions for the CLF-C02 exam. We'll focus on how to break each one down, identify the critical keywords, examine and understand the scenario that the question poses, and then eliminate any wrong answer options to get to our correct answer. Together, we'll work through each question step by step, showing you how to spot what the exam is really asking and how to avoid common traps that slow you down. So grab your notebook and get ready to learn some techniques, and let's jump on to our first question. And so question number 1 is, which AWS service enables you to perform security assessment on your EC2 instances using predefined rules aligned with best practices? These checks can include evaluations for open access from the internet, enable remote root logins, or the presence of vulnerable software. So our key terms that we want to watch out for here are security assessments on your EC2 instances. Okay, so that's really clear. It is actually on the instances that you're performing these security assessments. We're looking for things like open access from the internet and presence of vulnerable software. So we've got 4 options: WAF, Inspector, Glue, and Trusted Advisor. And in fact, if you have done your revision, you will know that this answer to this question is Amazon Inspector. Now, Amazon Inspector allows you to perform automated security assessments designed to enhance the security and compliance of your applications. What it does is it actually performs network and software analytics on your EC2 instances. So from a network standpoint, it will look at things like open root logins or what sorts of ports and protocols are left open on the server. And then from a software perspective, we'll actually analyze potential software vulnerabilities that might be installed on those instances and give you a breakdown. So for example, here is a quick screenshot of some instances that I have in my AWS account. It tells you the operating system, Amazon machine image, and if there are any critical or high vulnerabilities in any of those instances. You can then click into those instances and identify what those vulnerabilities are that AWS believes those instances have. And as far as incorrect answers go, well, WAF isn't a correct answer. WAF stands for Web Application Firewall, enables you to create security rules to block recognized attack patterns like SQL injections or cross-site scripting. Glue is also incorrect. Glue is basically a manage, extract, transform, load ETL service that simplifies data preparation used to load for analytics. And Trusted Advisor is obviously incorrect as well. Trusted Advisor basically gives you an overall view of the various resources you've deployed in your AWS account to see whether those resources are configured in accordance with AWS best practices against specific categories of cost optimization, performance, where you can improve performance, security, have you configured all of the security best practices, fault tolerance, service limits, and operational excellence. Okay, so that just gives you an overall view of your resource configuration. But Inspector, now that deep dives into your EC2 instances and looks for those vulnerabilities, reporting on them in the findings dashboard of your Inspector tool. Right, let's move on to question number 2. Okay, so question number 2 is, which platform as a service solution is designed to help you quickly deploy your application code by provisioning all necessary underlying infrastructure to support the deployment? You've got CloudFormation, Elastic Beanstalk, EC2, and Elastic Block Store. Let's take a look at the key phrases here. So you've got platform as a service solution. So it's not infrastructure and it's not software as a service. And you want to quickly deploy your application code. The platform as a service solution must provision all necessary underlying infrastructure as well. So it should quickly deploy your application code and it should provision the underlying infrastructure, the VPC, the EC2 instances, the load balancers, all that wonderful stuff. Now the answer to this question is obviously going to be Elastic Beanstalk. It is the platform as a service solution that allows you to upload your code in a supported language like Python, Java, etc. And then it will provision the infrastructure for you to support the application written in that programming language. It will provision the underlying infrastructure like VPCs, S3, EC2, databases, the whole shebang, and you've got everything going fantastically deployed for you. As far as incorrect answers go, so CloudFormation, it's not CloudFormation. CloudFormation is an infrastructure as a service solution that allows you to build infrastructure using code. So you basically write code to deploy a VPC, and within the VPC some subnets, and then within those subnets you can deploy some EC2 instances, but it doesn't take the actual process of doing all of that hard work for you. You actually write code for it. Whereas with Elastic Beanstalk, you're just writing the code for the application, uploading it to Elastic Beanstalk, and then Elastic Beanstalk has got its own set of CloudFormation templates to go ahead and set all of this stuff up. In other words, Elastic Beanstalk makes use of CloudFormation to build that underlying infrastructure for you. Clever, eh? Anyway, so let's move on. So it's not CloudFormation, it's not EC2 because that's infrastructure as a service, and Elastic Block Store is also infrastructure as a service. Which platform as a service solution then you're going to use? Elastic Beanstalk. Let's move on to question number 3. Okay, so question number 3 is, which enterprise-grade relational database engine offers a self-healing storage system that can scale up to 128 terabytes per database instance? Now, this is a sort of question where you do need to remember certain parameters and features. So specifically, it offers self-healing storage system, which means that the underlying storage that's provided for the database can self-heal. And you're being told that it can scale up to 128 terabytes of data per database instance. That's critical. Now, on the AWS platform, the answer to that question is Amazon Aurora. Amazon Aurora offers self-healing capabilities and can scale up to 128 TB per database instance. The auto-healing capability is enabled by storing 6 copies of your data in 10 gigabit chunks across 3 availability zones. What that means is that if the AWS system discovers that there's a particular chunk of data that is getting corrupted or certain physical issues with those disks, it is able to recreate that for you, and it's able to auto-heal for you without you losing your data. So when it comes to looking for an enterprise-grade database solution that offers these capabilities of self-healing storage and can scale up to 128 terabytes of data per database instance, you want to go with Amazon Aurora. Let's move on to question number 4. Okay, so question number 4 is, what is the primary benefit of using an Amazon RDS database instead of installing a MySQL compatible database on your EC2 instances? Key phrases here are, we're looking for the primary benefit of using RDS database versus installing a MySQL compatible database on your EC2 instance. Okay, so AWS RDS is a managed database service on which you can deploy a MySQL engine database to support and host your application data. Or you could install a MySQL compatible database on an EC2 instance that you have to manage. So your answer options are, you can update the underlying operating system on which the RDS database runs on. Well, you cannot. Because RDS is a managed service, AWS takes care of that for you, except for one caveat, which I'll come on to shortly. You can choose which drive and partition to install the RDS database on. You cannot, because you don't have access to the underlying operating system. Amazon manages the database, including patching and backup. Now that sounds exactly like what RDS offers. It's a fully managed database service. They take care of all of the patching, all of the backups, all of the configuration and updates and upgrades to the underlying app database software. Amazon takes care of that. So C looks like the correct answer. D, the customer manages the database, including patching and backup. Well, that's just the opposite of C. So obviously we know C is the correct answer there. Now, I was talking about a caveat. So let's talk about that caveat. So it's important for you to know that Amazon RDS now has a new version of their service called the RDS Custom service. This is a variation of the RDS service in that it provides administrative rights over the database and the underlying operating system. So with RDS Custom, you actually gain privileged operating system user level access, which allows you to do things like install custom databases, perform OS patching and packages, configure database settings, the file system to share files directly with dependent applications, etc. Make a note of the fact, however, that the RDS Custom is currently only available for the Oracle and SQL Server engines. Okay, there's a link in the description box below that will point you to a short video that will explain more about the RDS Custom service. So in the exam, if you just see Amazon RDS database, that's not the custom service, that's the fully managed one. If you see RDS Custom, then make sure you read the answer options correctly. Okay, let's move on to question number 5. Question number 5 is, which AWS service offers browser-based command line tools to access the AWS services and resources? So the key phrase there being a browser-based command line tool, not the CLI that you install on your local machine, but instead a browser-based version of it. So you've got Cloud Shell, Control Tower, Route 53, and Lightsail. The answer obviously is going to be Cloud Shell. Cloud Shell is this browser-based shell environment allowing you to manage your AWS resources and execute daily tasks from within a web browser with access to APIs using the AWS CLI and the various tools to enhance productivity. You simply click on this icon in your AWS Management Console and you log into a shell environment as the user currently logged into your AWS account. So you do need to ensure that you have the necessary permissions to carry out all of the necessary tasks you plan on doing in the Cloud Shell, and obviously access to the Cloud Shell. But the beauty of it is that you don't need to install the command line tools locally on your machine, and this is particularly useful for those workforce members who may have restricted access to their local compute environment. The answer option, Control Tower, is clearly incorrect. Control Tower basically allows you to manage a multi-account architecture environment and help you build multi-account environments. Route 53 is a DNS service that helps you manage DNS routing, purchase and management of domain names, etc. And Lightsail is a cut-down version of a virtual server platform that allows you to quickly provision virtual servers with specified configurations at set monthly prices. Okay, so that is question number 5. The answer is Cloud Shell. Let's move on to question number 6. Okay, so question number 6 is, a company wants to establish a private connection between 2 VPCs in different regions. Which of the following should they consider setting up? A. VPC peering, B. Amazon Direct Connect, C. IPsec site-to-site VPN, or D. Outpost. Okay, so the key phrase here is setting up a private connection between 2 VPCs in different regions. Now you've got to understand that these regions are separated from each other over the internet, but also over private links that AWS has established between the different regions. Okay, so AWS has its own private network that connects all of the different regions up together. And if we want to use a private link rather than the internet to connect 2 VPCs across 2 regions together, then you want to be setting up the VPC peering service. So the VPC peering service allows you to establish a private connection between VPCs, whether they are within a region or across regions. And this uses the private link AWS's backbone network in order to establish that connection. The good thing about this is that these instances within the VPCs can communicate with each other over private IP address space, which means that they do not need to traverse the internet to connect to the other instance in the other VPC. Now, there are certain limitations to VPC peering, however, that you do need to be aware of. So for instance, you cannot set up VPC peering between 2 VPCs that have overlapping IP addresses. So the 2 VPCs need to have IP address spaces that don't overlap. This is really critical, and this is something you want to take into account if you are architecting a solution for a client. You need to take stock of the existing IP address ranges that are in use and make sure that any VPCs you build do not overlap those addresses. Okay, so the other thing that you need to be aware of is that transitive routing is not permitted. Now, transitive routing basically means, like, if you imagine that you've got 3 VPCs, A, B, and C. If A and B appear together and B and C appear together, that does not mean that A and C can talk to each other. A and C need an explicit peering connection before they can communicate with each other. That's what transitive routing is, and that's what you cannot have with VPC peering. Okay, so that is question number 6. Let's move on to question number 7. Okay, so question number 7 is, which Amazon S3 storage class is ideal for storing objects whose access pattern is unknown, but where instant access is required? So the key phrase here is that the access pattern is unknown. Basically what that means is you don't know how often or how frequent you're going to be accessing the data in the storage class. Is it going to be every day? It's going to be once a week, once every 3 months? That is unknown, and it's likely to be changing as time goes on. So 1 minute you're accessing it every day, and then suddenly you don't need it for a good 60 days or something. In this scenario, there is only one possible storage class you want to put your data in, especially if you need the instant access element to it, and that is the S3 Intelligent Tiering storage class. So this storage class is ideal for storing objects where you have unclear access patterns. It will automatically move objects not accessed for 30 days into an infrequent access tier to lower your cost. And then the next time you access the data, it will shift it back into a standard storage class so that you don't get penalized for instantly accessing the data. The intelligent tiering also includes options for archive access tiers for longer term storage savings. So you've got the archive access tier for objects not accessed for 90 days and the deep archive access tier for objects not accessed for 180 days. Okay, so that's question number 7, unclear access pattern, which storage class you want to opt for, especially if you need instant access to your data. It's the intelligent tiering storage class. Question number 8. The company's CFO is keen to forecast the cost of hosting the company's application on AWS for the following year. Which AWS service could the CFO use to help budget for next year's cloud charges? So here the key phrases are forecasting the cost of hosting the application on AWS. And you've got trusted advisor, cost explorer, budgets, and pricing calculator. Now, the trusted advisor, we spoke about this a little bit earlier. Basically, that's a service that gives you an overall view of your resources and how they're configured, analyzing them against a set of parameters and best practices that AWS recommends. So it's not trusted advisor. AWS budgets allow you to create budgets for various expenses, for monthly budgets or for budgets for specific projects, or to see your consumption of reserve instance utilization, etc. And the pricing calculator is a service that allows you to just create estimates of your cost for potential resources you're going to provision in the AWS cloud. It's particularly useful when you're creating proposals for your clients to estimate their monthly bill. None of these give you forecast information about how much it's going to cost in the upcoming year, except AWS Cost Explorer. And it looks a bit like this. So you can actually create a cost and usage graph that will show you the previous set of costs on a monthly basis for the last 13 months, and then allow you to forecast up to 12 months in advance on potential costs that will upcome in the future based on your historical usage. It's a brilliant tool for CFOs. Let's move on to question number 9. Okay, so question number 9 is, a company is developing a new application component that will add AI capabilities to the next release of its e-commerce website. During the early stages of development and testing, the team experiences issues with the infrastructure configuration of certain AWS services. Which AWS support plan will enable the developers to access technical support and obtain guidance on configuring these services while remaining cost effective? Let's take a look at those key phrases again. So we're in the early stages of development and testing. We're looking for a support plan. We need to make sure it's cost effective. Now, if you're in the early stages of development and testing, then nothing is currently in production and therefore there's no real impact to business. In which case, you've got to choose from basic developer, business, and enterprise. And so to be cost effective, the developer plan should suffice. In fact, if you take a look at the core plans, and this is one I highly recommend that you study and commit to memory, you're likely to see 3 or 4 questions alone on the support plans. Under the developer plan, you will see that it's recommended if you're experimenting or testing in AWS. Whereas the other plans are more for production and business critical workloads. So developer is the correct answer. Let's move on to question number 10. Okay, so question number 10. You're building a data loss prevention DLP application that needs to read text content and images and can detect and prevent the leak of social security numbers as part of your compliance requirements. Which AWS service can help you with this? So here, the key phrases we're looking for is the ability to read text content in images, to be able to decipher any text that is embedded in an image, that is in or as part of an image. Now, this requires a bit of machine learning, okay? And based on the options that you have on the screen, the answer is Amazon Recognition. Amazon Recognition is a service that will detect, analyze, and compare text, scenes, and faces in images and videos. It can read text imprinted on images, making it a valuable tool for data loss prevention applications focused on preventing leakage of sensitive information such as SSN numbers, etc. So the correct answer to this question is Amazon Recognition. AWS config is incorrect because that basically manages the configuration of AWS resources to help you ensure compliance with internal policies and regulatory standards. Amazon CloudWatch also is incorrect. That service helps you monitor metrics of performance of various resources you deploy on the AWS platform. And then you've got Amazon Securicore. Well, there is no such service as Amazon Securicore. That's just a distractor, so you can ignore that one altogether. And so the correct answer to this question is Amazon Recognition. Now, I've got something else for you. If you're very keen on actually getting access to a lot more practice exam questions to help you prepare for the exam, then you're welcome to check out my AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner CLF-C02 Practice Test course. This gives you 390 practice exam questions spread across 6 separate exams. And for each practice exam, there's 65 questions per exam. And what you do is you go through these practice exams, and that will help you prepare for the actual exam as well. For each set, you've got a revision mode. So once you've completed the exam, you can actually take a look at the revision mode, which actually walks you through all of the questions, the correct answers for those questions, an in-depth explanation as to why the correct answer is the correct answer and why the other answers are incorrect, and so on. And that will help you prepare for the official exams quicker, faster, enabling you to pass in the first attempt. Okay, so the link of this practice exam simulator is there in the description box below. Feel free to enroll into that to help you prepare for the CLF-C02 exam. Thank you.